Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mackenzie Jerks, and my presentation is called Social Media's Destruction. One of the main reasons I chose to study the different aspects of social media was my personal connection to the issue. Like many other people in college, I use multiple social media sites, and when I first started using social media in high school, I found myself becoming obsessed with everything regarding social media sites. I was constantly checking for updates and new information. Information that I used to not care about at all suddenly became a very important part of my day. Eventually, for an academic experiment, I decided to delete all my social media apps for a month and observe the changes in my behavior and mood. I found very quickly that my overall mood became noticeably more happy and positive. I was also able to be a lot more productive in school, maintain a better sleep schedule. I became more engaged in face-to-face interactions with my peers, and I obtained a lot better grades. Since that moment, I have always been interested in the psychological impacts that excessive social media usage can have on a person without them even noticing. Another reason I chose to study this issue was because a certain amount of the people I spend my free time with seem to be obsessed with all the content on social media sites, and it often takes precedence over face-to-face interactions that they are currently involved in. Most of my study consisted of figuring out the extent to which social media use causes changes in psychological aspects of the human brain. The changes I chose to focus on included changes in moods and behaviors of individuals. Another aspect I spent some time studying was if the changes in the psychological composition of multiple individuals eventually has led or could lead to changes on certain structures of society. All the research done in this study regards excessive social media use by a person, and this means that the content and information involved in certain social media sites is one of the most important parts of a person's routine day. It also means that the time spent on social media sites takes up a significant part of the person's day, as well as interferes with other tasks that were formerly more important to a person. So the phrase excessive social media use means that a person spends a majority of their day online interacting with social media sites. It also means that a person is willing to sacrifice time socializing in person and replace that time with interactions on social media. Along with the popularity of social media sites, the time spent on these sites have increased over the years as well. It is estimated that teenagers and young adults now spend up to 9 hours of their day on social platforms. Assuming a person sleeps for about 8 hours a day, spending 9 hours a day on social platforms means that over half their day is spent doing that. This is an insane amount of time to be spent interacting with others through the internet alone. As mentioned earlier, social media sites have become increasingly popular over the past decade. This meaning that people are using more than one social media site, and people who were currently not using social media at all are now interacting with those sites. In recent years, there has been a noticeable increase in all age categories of people in their use of social media. Predictably, people who fall in the age category of about 18 to 29 have the majority of the number of users. However, in the age categories that follow, such as people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on, there's only about a 10% decrease in the number of users. So basically, social media sites are becoming very popular to people of all ages. With the continuous use of social media, there also comes various consequences. Of course, every person is different, and the effects of media exposure can vary extremely between people. The most common results of excessive social media usage found in teenagers and young adults is mental health disorders like anxiety and depression. In many cases, it is common that a person who suffers from depression also experiences the symptoms of anxiety. So anxiety is defined as excessive worry in a person and can include symptoms of restlessness, increased heart rate, and muscle tension. People with depression commonly experience feelings of sadness, decreased sense of self-worth, and a loss in desire to participate in hobbies that they formerly enjoyed. In a 2012 survey taken by those who consistently use social media, 51% responded saying that their mood had been negatively affected after they used social media. After hearing that statistic, you may wonder why people continue to use social media sites if it is noticeably harming their mental well-being. And the answer to that is addiction. The main reason social media continues to have users that interact with their sites on a regular basis is due to the fact that people are addicted to the sites. The section of the brain that is most highly activated during social media use is the part that is responsible for people feeling rewarded. In brain scans, this section consists of the nucleus accumbens of the brain. The same section is also activated in most drug addictions as well. When this part of the brain is activated, people experience temporary feelings of increased self-esteem and happiness. These temporary positive feelings are short-lived and are followed quickly by a desire to regain that happiness. Another aspect of social media interaction that becomes quickly addictive is the noises that occur with notifications. These mainly apply in cases of smartphones or tablets and not so much in computers. This addiction occurs through a process called classical conditioning. Through the repetition of a specific noise associated with a notification for a social media app, the human brain becomes trained to automatically know what that noise is associated with. So essentially, a person becomes trained when to look at their phone and to know precisely what that noise is associated with. With social media affecting every person in the United States in some form or another, the changes in the way people communicate have been evident. Social media allows information to travel across the entire nation in a matter of seconds. The speed of information spreading this fast does have considerable benefits in some cases. One example is emergency situations like bad weather. Most recently, an example can be the hurricanes that damaged large parts of the United States and other parts of the world. Due to media, awareness about these hurricanes was able to spread in a much shorter amount of time than if it was only by word of mouth or newspaper. This awareness allowed the rest of the country to send money or other needed resources to the affected areas in order to speed up that time of recovery. The downside of information being able to spread so rapidly occurs in the cases of excessive social media use. These people choose only to communicate through the use of their device as they see little need for any face-to-face communication. Essentially, the way these people communicate is the majority of the time through social media aspects on their mobile devices because the information they seek is available only in a matter of seconds. As previously discussed, excessive social media use commonly leads to feelings of anxiety and depression. Related to that, French sociologist David-Emile Durkheim studied a phenomenon he named anomie. Anomie is when a person experiences feelings of helplessness in their life. At the time he created the term, it was caused by citizens moving from rural areas to a city life and not being able to experience the same close-knit community that they had in their rural lifestyle. Sociologists today believe that the term can still be used to describe shifts in societal mood changes. I predict that in the near future, the constant time spent on mobile phones interacting with social media sites will cause a significant amount of the American population to experience this. Of course, there is no way to predict the shifts in societal patterns, mostly because they take several years to develop and also because of how large the society is. But based on the number of people who use social media sites and the fact that the popularity only appears to be increasing over time, this seems to be a very likely possibility in the near future. To incorporate the Greek words learned in the beginning of the semester in class, I chose to evaluate the argument through logos, kairos, and pathos. From a logical perspective, there is numerous amounts of psychological data proving that when a person uses social media on a consistent basis, they are more likely to experience the symptoms of anxiety and depression compared to a person who does not use social media at all. The timing of this issue is current and up to date. American culture currently revolves around social media and obtaining information as quickly as possible, as well as sharing close to everything that happens in a person's life through social media. A more emotionally charged argument as to why there needs to be an immediate change to the time spent on social media is the severe consequences of psychological damages, especially in young adults and teenagers who are more easily addicted to social media atmosphere because of the overwhelming need to be liked by their peers and peer pressure overall. Psychological damages can occur more frequently and more severely due to the underdevelopment of their brains. Decision-making, logical thinking, and personal development are all controlled by the prefrontal cortex of the brain. An average person's prefrontal cortex does not fully develop until about the age of 25. So if a person is under the age of 25 and experiences feelings related to anxiety and depression, they are at a much higher risk of suicidal thoughts and actions. So to wrap everything up, excessive social media exposure has been continuously proven to have noticeable psychological impacts. Some people may disregard these studies and argue that social media only is doing good things in today's society. And there are some situations where social media has proven to benefit society. For example, raising awareness for various causes in order to raise money or collect other resources, spreading newsworthy information to people across the country, allowing families to connect with one another while being geographically separated, are all positive things that social media allows us to accomplish. The problems arise when the use of social media becomes obsessive and considerably time-consuming. When a person is checking social media just to take up time or as an attempt to feel happy, there are obvious signs that an amount of psychological damage has been done. It can be reasonably assumed that because so many Americans are using social media platforms, that some type of change in societal structure will change or is currently changing. Again, it is hard to observe societal shifts as they are occurring because of the size and the extent that they have to impact. However, changes in the way people communicate can be observed already because of the lack of face-to-face interactions people have throughout their day compared to the interactions through the internet. As with any problem, there are solutions to solve it. Most of them are easier said than done because of the addictive grasp social media has on many of its users. One solution is to slowly decrease the amount of time a person spends on social platforms, simply by either scheduling times in your day to check social media, or even shutting off your phone at certain times so you don't even have the opportunity to check anything. Another more extreme solution is to end all use of social media sites or some social media sites. This one is obviously a lot harder, especially if a person uses one site to connect with someone very important to them. However, there is very little need for a person to be involved with multiple social media apps. It's quite attainable to get by with just one or two. Using social media excessively is damaging the American population's mental health, their ability to interact with one another, and their overall sense of self-worth. Thank you.